go. And just minimize that. Last week we made a flower. I don't know why. I can't remember why we made a flower. Oh yes, because we were covering gradients and colour mapping, weren't we? That's what we're doing, and I was showing the cool things you could do with gradients. But what I did last week was I continued with the flower a little bit. I actually gave it a stalk and some leaves, and I made a little clump of grass as well. Because this week what I was going to show was how you can scatter in Unity without using scripts and without having to scatter in Blender, then bring in every single object in its own place. Because obviously it's not ideal to create a load of grass particles, shall we say, and join them all together into one mesh, because you've got one enormous mesh when you can just use one small one for your little bit of grass or your flower and use it over and over and over and over again. It's much more performant to do it that way. And so you would, if you want many objects, the best way to do it, in my opinion, if you're wanting to scatter, is just do it in Unity. And it's easy enough to do, but if you're like me and not very good with maths, it's probably a good idea to save it in a little notepad, a little text file that you can bring up whenever you need it. And I've got mine here, which is this thing here. For even distribution, I don't know if you can see that on the screen, but basically for even distribution, you use the capital letter L, and then from and to, shall we say, in the parentheses. For random, you use the capital letter R, and then you need a bit of maths to work out if you're wanting something in a circle. And you just plug these into your X and Z boxes. And I will demonstrate. So for instance, here it doesn't have to be these values of -10 to 10. They're just example numbers, just to show you need to put a value in there. So I've got my little flower that I finished off last week, and I'm just gonna reset the position, and I've got my little grass. I'm gonna reset that position. Actually, you know what? It would be just as easy to reset everything on both of them, because the trouble is I don't like resetting everything, because you end up with a tiny object. Once you've exported from Blender into Unity as an FBX, it always comes into Unity with a scale of 100, and if you reset it to 1, you then got something that's 100th the size you want. But it's easy enough to change. The easiest way is just to click this little icon here, so all of these are linked, and then you just need to put it in once, 100. So that's that back to the right size. Reset that, and we'll do the same thing, 100. Oh, 10. So got our flower, got our grass. The only thing is they're lying on their side, because they're always, the axes, the Z and the Y axes, are the other way around in Unity. So you just need to, I'll select both of them, rotate these by -90, and that's them back the way they should be. So what I'm going to do is put these into their own little groups, so they're easy enough to work with. So the flower, I'm going to give it an empty parent, and the grass, I'm going to give it an empty parent. So now I can select the flower and duplicate it. You can either right click and duplicate, or you can hit Control and D, which is the quick way. Select all the flowers again, Control and D. We've got 4, now we've got 8, and now we've got 16 flowers. And the grass, I'm going to give it, just minimize that. The grass, I want a lot more grass, so maybe 32 grass. So 4, 8, 16, and 32, or however many you want. Just delete a load if that's too much. So select all of the grass, and we'll start off with the even distribution. So let's say I want to distribute this evenly from this edge to this edge on the x-axis. So the value we're going to plug in is there. The x-axis is left to right. You can see it up here, which is which, this little gimbal. So red is x, y is green, and z is blue. So across the x, I'll just select one of the grass pieces, and I'll move it over here. So I want it to go from about there, which is about 4.7, to about there, which is about 4.8. We'll just put 4.8 in for both of them. So we'll set that back to 0 and select all the grass. And we're going to do it evenly. So L for linear. And we're going to go minus 4.8, comma 4.8. So from and to is your two values. And there we've got them evenly distributed. We could, if we wanted, do the same on the Z. So linear minus 4.8 to 4.8. And there we've got it in a diagonal formation. So that's easy enough to do. Good for things like fence posts, or, you know, if you want anything that's anything at all, it has to be an even width. But the random bit when you're scattering is where it comes in. It's cool. This time we use capital R. And we'll do the same again, 4.8 to 4.8. And the same on the Z. Minus 4.8 to 4.8. And we've instantly just scattered all of our bits of grass all over. Now the only thing here is they look the same because they've got exactly the same rotation. The same blades are facing the same direction. So we can even randomize the rotation as well. So select all the grass, and we want to rotate it on the Y, which is the green. So random, and this time we're going to put in degrees instead of the number of units. So from 0 to, you could put 360, I usually put 270 or something in. Just so we're not having anything that's like spinning fully round and ending up back where it was. So now we should have a little bit of randomness with the grass, with a bit of luck. 48, 164, 99 degrees, etc. So yeah, it's all randomized. And that's basically how you do that. And the cool bit with this bit, with the flowers, is here. This is where I copy and paste, because we have this little bit of maths going on. So, and I've made notes. That goes into the X, that goes into the Z. So I just copy that into the X. Oh, that's not right. That's the scale. Rotation. Into the X. Still not got it right. Position. Here we go. But I'm just going to put 1 instead of 5 meters. And then the one that goes into the Z, pop that in. And instead of 5, I'm going to make that 1. And now we've got a circle of flowers. You could do this with like mushrooms or something and have a nice little fairy ring going on. Let's do the same with the grass, just because. But we'll make that maybe 2 meters. So we'll plug that one into there because that was the second one we did. 2 meters. And we'll copy this one. And plug that one into there. 2 meters. And now we've got 2 little rings of things, which is fun. It's always fun to play around with a bit of maths, and if you're good with stuff like that, then yeah, you're laughing. I'm not. And that's why I just tend to use it to scatter and nothing else. So, I'll do it again. So, random, minus 4.8 to 4.8. Random, minus 4.8 to 4.8. And I'll do the same with the flowers. And there we've got, excuse me, I do beg your pardon. I need another mouthful of coffee. We've got everything scattered across our plane. A bit sparsely, granted, but the plane's a bit too big. I do beg your pardon. I'm just going to take another drink. I'm probably going to sneeze in a second. I'm just going to mute myself. 2 moments. Just as well I did. I've just had a sneezing fit there as well. Oh, goodness. Right. Okay. So.
Bless you.
Thank you. So, it's now 1:15. I knew it wasn't going to take long to show how to scatter stuff in Unity. So I do have something else up my sleeve. And this I just think is brilliant. And I'm hoping people have a lot of fun with it. There was something I did. If anybody's been to Christmasville, which is a world I built a few years ago when I took part in a world building competition, at the end of the kind of a show, in inverted commas, because you kind of press a button and a few things happen, and at the end of it all there's a firework display. And the firework display I tried to do originally using Unity particles, but I wanted such a complex display and so many particles that my frame rate tanked. And I wasn't prepared to skimp on the firework display, and so I ended up doing it all with Blender particles, rendering it into a movie, and then putting that way off in the distance behind the houses, massive, and having it transparent, and it looked like a firework display. You could see the sky behind it and everything else. And it's not difficult to do. And I thought, I haven't seen anybody else do anything like that. It doesn't have to be fireworks. It could be anything you wanted. But it's really cool. And it's exactly the same principle in Crystal Lake, where they've got the big screen and they have a transparent option. When they had the light show, and they would specifically choose videos that had a black background, so that became transparent and it looked like a light show, especially when it was projected onto the dome. And that's exactly basically what I wanted to cover today, just very quickly. It does take a little while, so I'll be as quick as I can and do a simple firework and then show you how to bring it into Unity and have it basically work. Yeah, exactly as I've described. I know I waffle on too much. So I'll go into Blender and I'm just going to delete everything. Go into front mode just by pressing 1 on my numpad, front orthographic view, and we'll bring the floor down a bit to there, because obviously I want to be able to see where my fireworks are going to shoot up to. And the first thing we want to do, the main thing is you need to create 2 items. You need an emitter that the particles are going to be like come out of, and you need the actual particle itself. So we're going to start off by creating an icosphere, and I don't know if you can see here, but I like to increase the number of subdivisions. It doesn't matter how much geometry you've got, make it as complex as you like, because at the end of the day, all you're going to be bringing into Unity, into Banter, is a movie that you're making of it. So do whatever you like. I like to give it three cuts, 3 subdivisions, and then I like to reduce the size to about 0.1, about 10 centimetres, something like that. So that's going to be my emitter, and I'll rename it. And we'll add another one, which is going to be the particle. So another icosphere. This one doesn't have to have as many subdivisions, so I'll reduce it to 2. And I'll call that particle. And then if we go into the world view, into rendered mode, Eevee, it's quick. We're just going to render it in Eevee because it has bloom, which makes it look awesome. Just turn the strength down to 0, And I'll just turn the grid off for now as well, because what I want to do is hide the emitter. So we're working on the particle. I want to be able to see it. We need to make it glow if it's going to be a firework particle, like a spark. So I'll give it a material, and we'll change the principled material for an emissive one, and suddenly it pops into view. We need to really increase the glow, the strength of the emission. We could say make it, I don't know, 45, something like that. And then if we turn on bloom,
Sheesh.
whoa, it's got a lot of emission, but we can turn down the radius to, I don't know, maybe 3, something like that. That'll do for now. We can always adjust things afterwards. But to make this look good, in my opinion, we need to do a bit more work on the material. And I picked up a tip, and I wish I could remember the guy's name. If I can find his videos, I'll put them in the link when I upload this. But he did a really cool thing with the material, which just made the fireworks look so much more realistic. So for instance, if I wanted the fireworks to be like an orangey colour, yeah, it's orange, but you know, what if I want green fireworks? The sparks aren't actually going to be green, like really green, but we want you to be able to see the green glow. So what I would do, what he did, and it works brilliantly, is to I'll just put these back down to 1 for now. I don't suppose it matters. We'll have one of them as just white, I think. We could reduce it and make it a little bit bit warmer, a little bit of an off-white warm colour. And we'll mix these shaders together with a mix shader node, obviously, and turn this down to, I don't know, maybe 0.2, something like that, so we can see more of the green and less of the white. And then this is the magic. This is what I didn't even know this node existed, but it works so well. Plug the linear into the top one and the constant into the bottom one, and crank these both up really high, like 300 and 500, something like that. And that looks way better. It's like white, like white hot white, but you've still got the green glow. Because the trouble with emission, often you end up where you just lose the colour. The higher you turn it up, the more you lose the colour. It just becomes white anyway. So that works quite well. I'm happy with the particle, and I'm going to leave it there for now. I am going to move it so it's out of the scene once the fireworks are done. How am I doing for time? Ooh, got to be quick. So I'll bring it back my grid, and I'll bring back just the normal, what do you call this? I never know the names, and viewport shading, whatever it is. The grey view, I call it. And we want to animate this emitter particle so it shoots up into the air. So I'm going to say I want it to go, I'll just bring the timeline up a bit, and I'm on frame 1, and it's the Z axis that goes upwards in Blender. It's the Y in Unity, it's the Z in Blender. So on the Z, I'm going to create a keyframe by hitting that little dot there. And then at about, I want to be able to work this out easily in my head. So let's say if we change this to 25 frames a second, then I'll know 25 is easy to work out in your head. So if I wanted to zoom up in 3 seconds, I want it to be at 75. So we'll move this to 75. And then just add another keyframe. I think what we need to do is tell it we want to go up, say, 20 meters and add a keyframe at frame 75. So if we play it, it moves up. I'm just going to move that to 75 and zoom out a bit, because I want to be able to see both where it's like its start and its end, shall we say. There we go, that'll do. And I need a bit extra room for the explosion. So that's our animation so far. So what I want to do, I need at least 2 particle systems. I want one that's going to be like the tail as it soars up into the sky, and one for the explosion at the top, the boom. So we're going to have a zoom and a boom. So I create a particle system and I'll call it zoom. So we know that's the one that's going up. Oh, and I can't even spell zoom. What I'll do is I'll reduce this so it's not doing a load of nothing. We'll reduce it to 100 and just keep it playing for now so I can see what's happening. And there's the particles being emitted. But they're falling. I don't really want them to fall like that. They're going to be almost weightless. You do see the sparks fall ever so slowly during a firework display, but for the zoom I think I'm probably just going to turn gravity off. So under field weights, just turn gravity down to 0, and then they just kind of stay where they are. They don't fall and they kind of disperse on their own. Now the reason they're dispersing is because they've got a velocity. What's happening is that every face on the icosphere, every normal, is generating a particle and it's coming away from that face in that direction, and so they're kind of spreading out. I don't want any velocity, or I want very little spread. So what I'm going to do first is, instead of emitting from the faces, I'm going to tell it to emit from the volume, so they're coming from the centre of the icosphere. And then under the normal velocity, I'm just going to turn that down, and that should get narrower. We could turn it off altogether and it'll be really, really thin. If you like a little bit of something, just crank it up to whatever you like the look of. But these are just the standard particles. There's not much else happening there. If we go into turn the grid off again, we need to tell it that we want to use the particle we've created that glows. So under render, where it says halo, change it to object. Use your eyedropper. The instance object is the particle. And it's kind of working. I can see them. Don't know if you can on the screen in there, but it's kind of working. All we need to do is change a few things. So we'll alter the scale randomness. They're not all exactly the same size. And we can start to increase this a bit until it starts to look reasonably good.
Did the stream freeze for anybody else?
Ooh, has it frozen for you?
Can you still see? It froze for me. Maybe it's just me.
If it's working for everybody else, you might.
There, but it's
working for me.
It's still good for me.
Yeah.
Still good.
Yeah, maybe you just need to
rejoin real quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh.
Was I invisible? Oh, I know why. Get that distance thing on.
Okay, nice.
Okay. So the trail is a bit too long, and the reason it's too long is because hang on. The reason it's too long is because the lifetime is too long, for a start. We also wanted to only generate particles for as long as it zooms, and once it reaches the top at 75, we can have it stop generating them. So we'll change the start frame is fine at 1, we'll change the end frame to 75, and then the lifetime, we'll turn that down. We'll just start cranking it down till it looks about right. That looks quite nice. That's reasonable, I think. Lifetime randomness, we'll turn that up to 1, so that it means that the particles are going to die. They're not going to all just disappear at the same time. And it makes it look a bit more realistic. So you can see the trail kind of gets a bit thinner because some of the particles are dying before others. So yeah, what else can we do? I don't know if object rotation will do much when it's so tiny. But we'll tick it anyway. You might not notice much of a difference. And the main thing is we only want to see the particles. We don't want to see the actual emitter. So turn that off in render. And then I usually turn it off under viewport display as well. And then when I want to see the emitter, I tend to use the X-ray mode so I can see it when I'm editing stuff. So there's our trail so far. We need another particle system now, which is going to run from 75 to whatever. I'll just increase the timeline a little bit so we've got a bit of space, and we'll add another particle system which we're going to call Boom. And this one runs from frame 75 when the other one, no, say frame 76 when the other one ends. We'll do the first thing we want to do is change the particle to the object. Turn on the scale randomness, crank up the size a bit. Turn gravity off for now. I might play with it and turn it on again. What else do I want to do? 76 to 200, is that long enough? Possibly we could increase the velocity a bit. Maybe something like this. Choo! That's a bit much.
Wow.
Maybe a bit less than that. Yeah, possibly. I'm not convinced with that just yet. What we could do...
Kind of looks like warp speed.
It does. It does. Yeah. Let's crank the normal speed up, but then we'll add a little bit, we'll damp it a little bit. That's got to be under physics somewhere. There we go. We'll give it maybe 0.1 damp. So now it's limited to how far it kind of travels. I'll turn in rotation. It's going very slow, isn't it? I wonder why it's going so slow. Lifetime 50.
Yay.
76. Tell you what, let's do 77. Boom! That's more like it. And then we can maybe... So we've literally got it generating all these particles just over one frame. And then we'll get a bit of a ball. We'll crank gravity up just a tiny little bit. And then they're just starting to fall as they die. That doesn't look too bad. If we stop the animation, it finishes rendering the bloom properly. So when you render it, it's going to be a lot more glowy. More like that. Let me just have a quick check of that. I've got
There's a
that
lesson
set
going
at
on
10.
right now. Come
Can you
here,
hear my
I'll
voice,
explain it to you.
I'm going
Yeah,
to...
we can hear you.
Hello.
I'm going to duplicate
My
this
first time using this
particle
app.
with Shift and D. Hang on.
It's like VR chat.
Shift and D. Oop. There we go. We'll call this one, I'll rename it to particle green. And I'll make this
There's
one
a lesson going on at the moment.
particle red.
You need to be quiet, please.
So what I'll do is I'll also duplicate the material and I'll change that from green to red. There we go. So we've got two particles. We'll give this a second particle system, which I'll call Boom 2. We'll have it run at the same time from 75 to whatever it was, 200 it's got here. That's clearly not enough. We need to increase that to past 200 because you can see the red line there where it's trying to render it. Oh, 76. Oh, it wasn't. It was 76 to 77, wasn't it? Lordy, I forgot about that. We just did it over one frame. 76 to 77. We'll turn off the gravity again. Make that maybe 0.1. We'll change the particle to the red one. We'll adjust the scale randomness, adjust the size. Only this time I'm going to decrease the velocity from 10 to 5, but still use the same damp value, 0.1. So we should get a ball like half the size of the first one. Yeah, that works quite well. And for that one, I'll make that the same gravity as well, because it doesn't make sense to have one fall faster than the other. So we've got a green trail. Yeah, that's okay. So I'm not going to go into detail. If anybody wants to, I'm more than happy next week to like go over how to do like a full firework show, not just one firework. But for this, I'm just going to move the particles down, out the way, -10 on the Z, so it's way out the screen, out of view. I'll move this up a bit. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put the particles back where they were for now, because I'll use that as a frame of reference. I need to set up a camera so that we can render it. So I've added a camera. Control Alt and 0 will make you like set the camera to the direction you're currently viewing. And I'll zoom in a bit. Open up the end panel. And if you hit camera to view, now you can move things around and it won't move the camera, it'll set your view. You can set it inside the frame. So we'll just zoom out a bit. Motion detected at the front door. Goodness. Wonder who that is. Make sure that your bloom is within frame, because if that goes over the edge, it's going to look obviously like it's a video and it's going to look rubbish. Just make sure the whole thing is within the frame. And as long as you've got a black background, you're all good. So now I'll move the particles down, so it's out of view. We'll double check that it's working okay. Looks good to me. So now we want to render it. I've got a folder already set up which I've called frames. You can render directly to video, but I don't recommend it, because the more particles you have, the more complex the display you're going to be doing, the more likely it is Blender's going to crash at some point and you'll have to start from the beginning. But if you do it with frames, you could have so many frames already rendered, you've just got to carry on from where you left off once you restart Blender, and then you can compile your frames into the video. So to do that, we need to first of all make sure this is 25 frames a second. I changed that before. It automatically puts in the end frame here. So you need to choose the folder you're going to be using, and I've got fireworks frames. PNG is fine. We don't need an alpha channel, just change that to RGB and that'll do. So if you hit Control and F12, or you can hit render animation. I'm just going to do Control and F12 because I like me hotkeys basically. And you'll see as it works through, all your frames start appearing in your folder. So we'll just let that finish doing what it's doing. What I do recommend, and I forgot to do, was change this to wireframe mode. I don't want to do it because I haven't saved the file and I don't want to risk crashing it, but change this to wireframe mode first before you render. Otherwise it's got to render both on this screen and you know, your main screen as well, and that's going to be even harder on the system. But it's finished. It was only 133 frames. We're done.
You should save it.
Yeah, I probably should. So we'll save it as, we'll stick it in my frames thing. I'm just going to save it as untitled for now. So once you've got your frames, just start a new project and change this icon here, from 3D viewport to video sequencer, and we're going to add in our film strip. So add in image sequence, choose where you saved them to, fireworks frames, pick your first one, hit A to select all, and add your image strip, and there it is. Tells you it's 133 frames long, so we can change that over here. I always click the wrong one, it's the output one you want. 25 frames a second, 133 frames long. We'll put it into the same folder so it's easy to find. Change it from PNG to video. Encoding, change it to MPEG-4. And that should be all we really need to do. The only thing I'm going to do now is change it. I'm going to render it to 50%. Because it still looks good at 50% and your video size will be a lot smaller if you're going to be importing it in along with your world into Banter and not streaming it in. So that's basically it. You do the same thing again with Control and F12, and this time it's super duper fast because it's just got to compile the frames into a video, and that's it done. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. There we go. There's the video there. And we'll give it a quick play and make sure it's working okay. Looks fine to me. So now what we need to do is find your scene that you want to bring it into. And the best way to do this, I've found, is just to bring in a good old quad, which I'll reset to the middle, and we'll bring it up a bit for now. And we need to get this set up to put your video on. The first thing I need to do is bring the video in, don't I? So we'll drag that in there. There it is. This thing here, it's going to need a material at some point, but the first thing it needs is a video component. So we just right click on the quad and choose video player. And you'll see here it's asking for the only things, 3 things you need to look at really is the video clip, which we need to plug in there. Loop, if you want it to play continuously, click that, and then it's asking for a render texture. A render texture essentially is the same as a normal texture, except instead of being a picture like of bricks or grass or whatever, it's a special file which allows you to render a video onto that texture. So you would make a material with that texture just like you would any other image, but that's what your video is going to be on. So we need, first of all, we need to create that special kind of texture, and it's dead easy. You just right click or hit the plus button here and create a render texture, and that's it. I'm not even going to bother naming it because there's only going to be one in the scene. So back to the video player and drag that into there. So the video player is what controls what appears on the render texture. We've told it that's the video, and we've told it to put it onto that render texture. So that render texture now just needs to be added to a material. So we'll create a material. I'll just leave it as the standard one for now so you can see how it works. Plug that into there. It doesn't look like an image, it's just a weird thing, but we know, at least you know that that icon means it's a render texture, and we'll put the material onto the quad. So now if we play it, this is where I find out I don't know where the quad is. There it is, it's all the way down there. I should have moved it away, but yeah, you can see the videos playing on there. It works kind of, but it's black. That's not what we want. So I'm going to move it back first of all the way to here, and I'm going to scale it up to something pretty big and move it up a bit, probably about there. That's obviously where the bottom of the video is because it's a square quad, and we've set it to fit horizontally here, so it's like a letterbox thing. There's just going to be sections at the top and bottom with nothing on, so I've just moving it down so that bit's missing there. So The thing we need to do is just fix the material and fix the render texture as well, because you'll see, especially when you've blown it up big. Let's just play it as it is first, so you'll see what I mean. It's going to look very blocky and pixelated. Oh, come on, close. It just looks like square pixels, which is rubbish. And the reason is because our render texture is only set to 256. We probably want a minimum of 1K texture. And that looks way better. If you've only got one video in the scene, crank it up to 2K if that's what you want to do. And you've got the resources to do it if your world's not that, you know, if you've got plenty of computer resources to run it along with everything else in your world. So we've done that. The material I'm going to change, and this is where the magic comes in because it's built into Unity. Just mobile, particles, additive. That's it. And we've got...
What?
Yep, that's all you do. As long as your background is black, and if you render in Eevee so you get the bloom, it looks pretty cool and you can do some awesome stuff with it. What I'd love to do, you know, if people are interested in anyway, next week I can show you how to work it through a timeline and have like a choreographed kind of firework display with maybe some letters that appear, or, you know, yeah, there's all kinds of things you can do with it. And it just looks so much better than like a Unity firework display. So highly recommended, worth playing with, and I'm more than happy to expand on it if anybody's interested. So yeah, we've covered 2 things today and it's still only 1:45. We can do a little bit more with a firework display if anybody wants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm amazed.
Close that.
You know, ever since as you were exporting from Blender without the alpha, I'm like, there's
Yeah.
no way.
Yeah.
How's she gonna do it? It was, and that light fall off really is a great trick to make
Yeah.
the glow like that. Is
It
really
just
good.
makes them look so good, doesn't it? I know you can do some
Wow.
crazy things with it.
Mind blown.
So what I'm going to do is this emitter here, which I don't even know where it is. I can't see it. There it is. Goodness gracious. Why didn't I see that? Right, so that there, I'm going to duplicate it. But what you've got to remember is when you duplicate an emitter, it has the same particle system as the other one. So if you ever want to change a particle system on one firework but not another, you need to hit this little number 2 button so it makes a copy of it. And that's for every particle system as well. So, and I am going to do that because I'm going to change the colours for a start off and then do some of that cool stuff if I can do it in 10 minutes. So I'm going to hit that number 2. So this now, all these particle systems are unique to this emitter now and it's not sharing it with this one. So this second one, I'm going to move over to maybe about there. And then the zoom, I'm going to change it from green to red. I'll just swap the colours over, make the opposite. So boom is going to be green to red. And then boom 2 is going to be red to green. So, turn that off. If I play that, we've now got that. And then I might decide that I want to make this look a little bit more random. But what I'll do is I'll just first of all, go back to the beginning, select this one again and duplicate it and move it over to here maybe. Oh goodness. And do the same thing again, make its particle systems unique. Let's duplicate this red particle and we'll call it maybe pink. And make it a, do the same for the material, make sure it's its own material and make that a pink colour perhaps. And I'll duplicate it again and call it blue. Give it its own material and make it blue. So this one in the particles, change it from green to, I don't know which one to have now, blue. Which ones that I've done? That's the zoom. So the boom's got to be blue and the boom 2 is going to be pink. So we'll change that to blue and change that one to pink. Have a quick check, make sure it's working okay. Yep, that'll do nicely. I'm happy enough with that. Okay, so now what I want to do is make it look a little bit random. So the first thing, I'll just bring that back, is when it gets to number 75, I don't want them to be exactly the same height. I want this one to come down a little bit. So here, I'm just going to say this one's going to be maybe 17 meters and replace the keyframe and make this one maybe, I don't know, 19 meters and replace the keyframe. So when we play it, they're at different heights. I've made the different distances a little bit different. I might also want to offset their kind of start point, their launch time, shall we say. So for this one, we'll make this one start 10 frames later than the middle one. So if I move this up to 10, I can select all of these, all the keyframes, just by hitting A, G to move them, and I can just drag them to 10. But then I also need to offset the particles for them starting as well. So I need to add 10 to each one of these frames. So 1 plus 10 is 11, 75 plus 10 is 85. Do the same for this. So it's 86 and 87. 86 and 87. So I'll play that. It starts a bit later and it explodes a bit later. We'll do the same for this one as well, except I'll make this one 20 and we'll drag the keyframes, and then we'll want to add 20 to all of the ooh, now then. Oh, that's right. That is right, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So 21 and 95. 96 and 97. 96 and 97. That's okay. I'll turn the grid off. Go into...
Alright.
There we go. So we've almost got the start of a firework display going. I'm quite happy with that. We've already got the camera set up, and we've already got it set up to render to the images. So I'm literally just going to hit Control and F12 and it will overwrite the frames that I've already got in me. And another thing I forgot to do, we'll just cancel out of that. Go into X-ray
Wireframe.
mode. So it only has to render it once on this screen. This is going to be a bit slower because it's got more calculations to make. The more particles you have, the slower the render's going to be. But just be patient because Eevee's still pretty quick. And it'll be done very soon. See, we're nearly up to 100 already. It's only 133 frames long. Ooh, now then. Something I did forget about, however, is I should have lengthened the timeline, shouldn't I? Because that's where it ends, and everything hasn't kind of died, dissolved yet. So, what we'll do, we'll play that, and you can see where the red line is there. That's where everything's kind of dead by that point. You can double check it just by scrubbing through the timeline, having a look, crank it up 1 frame at a time. That's it, everything's gone at that point. So you can, what I normally do is just put it just past the end of that red line. 150, change this to 150. And we'll render again. And hopefully that is going to be correct now. We've got 3 minutes, but we did start late, so I'm not worried too much.
I noticed your skybox was rotating.
Yeah, that's a
I
free
wonder,
skybox.
was that a shader or a script?
It's just a free thing that I got from Unity. If it's still free, I'll find out where it is and I'll put that in the description of the video as well. It's the skybox that I actually used in Christmasville. Couldn't remember how to use it. I can't even remember if it's got scripts, but to be truthful, I tried it in Banter and it worked, and I thought that's good enough. So I don't even know how it works. I've never looked into it properly. I just used it. So
Yeah, that's good.
but yeah, anyway, we've done that. I'm going to save what we've done, and new file, video sequencer, add image sequence, stick them all in. It's 150 long, so 50%, 25 frames, 150. It's going to go into fireworks frames, video, come on, why can't I find it? Where's MPEG-4? Where's the plain MPEG-4 gone? Have I done something wrong? Oh, it's Matroska. I'm meant to be changing to MPEG-4. Lisa, you idiot. Right, okay. So that's that. Control and F12. That's it done. Back into Unity. I'm just going to stop playing that. Delete that. And we'll bring this one in. The 151. Back to the video player. Drag that one in. And play. And there it is. I think that doesn't look bad. Yeah, that's quite nice. I'm happy enough with that. So we'll maybe do a little bit more of this next week. Like I say, if people are interested in, I'm happy to do whatever you want to do. This is just me thinking of ideas for something new, so you don't get bored, basically. But yeah, that's us done for the week.
Do you have a way to accurately, I can think of ways to fake it, but if you want some kaboom sounds to go with your fireworks, to actually get the timing and the location of a kaboom sound to go off where a firework is exploding in the sky, have you sort of thought of a good way to do that?
Yeah, it can actually be all be done in Blender. In Blender. in Blender, there is,
Is
you
it,
can
like,
actually bring
attach an audio
audio files
source?
into here, and you can time everything to it and move things around on the timeline to match up with the kabooms. I'll we'll go into that a little bit next week as well, I think, if we've got time.
But you can bring that into Unity with that sort of spatial audio. It works.
You can. Well, yeah. It's basically the same as it's the same as like a YouTube video. So technically, I think you probably can. I've not looked into it that much, but I know that you can bring in audio objects which you can move around, and I'm guessing if you render the sound along with the, you know, the video in, I'm guessing
I mean, it's sort of at the distance
in
you
the
have
video
fireworks. It's like it
sequencer.
doesn't even really matter. But I'm just a
Well,
little curious.
no, it doesn't. But I mean, you can get 3D video with like YouTube, as long it's just a way of embedding it with the spatial sound into the video, isn't it? With the stereo sound, basically, at the end of the day, that's what you're trying to achieve. And I believe it's possible in Blender. I've never tried it, but I will definitely look into it. And maybe that's something we can work on together one week and figure it out. Yeah. That's a challenge. I like a
Fireworks are looking
challenge.
Great.
The what, sorry? I didn't hear
Those
what you
fireworks looked great. I mean, I've tried to do some in Unity, of course, with the sort of built-in emission system.
said. Yeah.
Never looked that good. It looks so good.
I like it. I think it's better than using Unity's particle systems for fireworks, to be honest. I really do. And it's way, way more performant. You can have much more complex stuff going on with this.
Yeah.
You can go as crazy as you want and not worry about your frame rate dropping. As long as you can play a video, you're good. So yeah. I think next week we will
and I guess
expand
you could
on
do
this.
all kinds of
You could
sort
do
of
anything.
instead of actual particle effects. Do this sort of video trick.
Yeah.
It's you're full of great tricks. You're the queen of tricks, in fact.
Well, I'm all for performance. I'm all for optimization. If I can help people
Yeah,
to
you
work
got
out
to
how
in
to
VR, right?
have awesome looking worlds and have them really, really work well in Blender, there's any number of tricks that you can use. Yeah, and that's just one of them. So, thank you anyway for coming this week. I have to
you.
say that because I'm going to end the recording in a minute, and I've got to sound polite and nice to anybody else watching the videos. So, I'll stop the recording now.